So hello everybody. So I kind of just wanted to go and since it is the end of 2021, that I would just kind of go and do a bit of a reflection over the year. A lot has happened over the past 12 months for me and this channel, as evident by how much I've been posting and the wide variety of what I have been posting. So starting off, just going through the entire year from start to end. So going into this year, I was doing terrible in school. COVID has it gave me such a mental exhaustion that because I was stuck in the same four walls for over a year at that point, for almost an entire year at that point, and it was just like, what? It just it drives you insane to a point. So it was like I wasn't able to focus on anything. I was all over the place. I was just doing absolutely terrible on a student level. Uh, I was able to actually put out in the end, luckily. So I was actually able to pass all the classes I needed to. So but with a lot of that, it was, throughout that time going in from 2020 to 2021, there was just a lot of like the depression and everything that, it's not new for people from going in from quarantine. That it was just it to go back to that mental exhaustion. It shows that, like, it just wears on you, and you just go to a much darker place mentally, even for the strongest of people. Like, I find myself to be one of the, like, someone who has a strong mental, like I don't really get too, like, drained that much, and the past year has really just kind of proven that to be kind of wrong. I'll get more into that a little later, but it's like, there's just so much of a darkness from those first like 6 months going into the summer. But thankfully, as June hit, mid June, it started, restrictions started to come down in that, in my area. So it was like, it was more it was easier to go out and do things and be around people. But from a standpoint of someone who couldn't really go out on their own, it was more so just became a lot of boredom, especially after, school let out. There was literally nothing to do. I would constantly just find myself staring at a wall, which led me into going into what I do a ton. I used to do a ton of, and that's speed running. As well as the videos I used to release every week during the Overwatch League season. I would go through what was happening. I would go through my predictions, and it gave me something to do, and it brought content to the channel finally, after never really uploading, since I really couldn't. The only way I could is using like my phone, which is why there was a very rare occasion to see something like Pokemon trading card game, uh or the Overwatch League videos. So it was like there was not much to be shown, but Overwatch League kind of, like, the season gave me that like beginning of that content release, and just in general, that, like, the Overwatch League kind of gave me a lot of like aspirations to do it, to go into that kind of a field. Uh because especially when it comes to Overwatch, I've been playing the game since 2017. Just during the Archives event, back when it was still called Uprising. It was the last event before the anniversary. So it was like I was playing it about like I was about 10 months into the game's lifespan, and onward until today, and even still, I still play it with a ton of enjoyment. And it's just like, I watching that, it's like, I kind of want to try to go to that higher level, even though I may not be good enough for it. But with that summer, it was tossing up between like trying to focus on getting better at like Overwatch and trying to get more dedicated into speedrunning. And that's why I started to go into stuff with deeper into Mortal Kombat Deception, because it's a game I knew like the back of my hand. It was something I loved playing. It's a niche game that like not many people really would think would be something to speedrun, especially with it being so unique. Uh, and that's when I created. Well, I started speedrunning Deception back in December of last year, so I've been doing it for a year now. But it wasn't until like the start of the summer when I really started to take off on like putting out runs. And it wasn't until June 11th when I would release Dog Percent, which was a joke that I created, and I love how much the community and like the Discord and everything really just kind of blew it up, and we had so much fun breaking it. In that, especially D Wednesday, he broke that so much because it was alongside the time when clips, uh, conquest wall clips started to were discovered. So he took that strategy and actually implemented it into the run and took it down. I think it's now at like a minute and a half, if that, with skips and glitches. But yeah, no, that dude's a freak of nature. But back on to him, as well as Frosty, Morshu, Fago, Movado, a ton of us all kind of came together, and I brought up the idea of potentially splitting up the leaderboard a bit. So the way that it used to work, it was basically just like your arcade runs. It would be max setting, max difficulty. It would be 60 to 90 second timer, and whatever else you wanted for the rest of the settings. And the overall consensus on originally when this format was going on was that Cobra was the big selected character for it. It was the meta, unless you were playing on GameCube, in that time you would play Goro, because Goro has a uh his ground slam allows you to do a ton of pop up combos that the AI can't avoid because it doesn't know how to avoid it on any difficulty. So it's a huge exploit, but like we're like, okay, allow it to like we'll delete load times so every single thing can be grouped up together, whether it be PlayStation 2, Xbox, uh, GameCube, Wii, PS3, Xbox 360, all that, as well as emulators. Like the emulator versions would actually work on it too, because the load times were deleted. They didn't mean anything anymore. So now we have that, and it was like, okay, so now we can take this idea, and I'm like, okay, start working with other characters. Go, I went with, I think my first one was Sub Zero, then I went to like Noob Smoke, Raicho, Hotaru, Darius. Oh no, Darius was the first one I went to because I actually had kind of compared the two, and Darius was actually just as fast as Cobra, using some of his combos, and that's kind of what spiraled us all. And we started working together, and that we actually figured out there's like three characters better than Cobra, or at least equal to Cobra. So, like, with the help of all of us in the Deception community, we actually broke the game's like original like speed running format. At least like the way that it was ran before, but now it's to a point to where it's like everyone's kind of mellowing out because that like the excitement between it all was kind of dying out. But I'm still planning on continuing that into the future. but I've definitely had a ton of fun doing it. I enjoyed working with them to kind of try to figure out how it was set up. There was probably about three different leaderboard layouts that we had kind of thought about, but it was always just kind of like something was always off about it. But we worked really hard on it, and I'm proud of what we did with the way that it's set up now because it allows you to play whoever you want in the game. It does you like you don't you're not required to play Ashra. You're not allowed to you're not required to play Tanya. You're not allowed you aren't required to play a certain character anymore. You can play whoever you want because every character has their own leaderboard now, and it doesn't matter who you play because really many of the characters still have that world record potential. But there are some that are just out of the question. Stuff like Scorpion, Shujinko, and probably like Havoc. There's a few that just don't have the combos, or their combos are too slow, or and don't do enough damage to warrant uh, that length of time. Like one of like Scorpion's like only like longer combo is incredibly slow, and it only does like 20%. So like it's not worth using over other combos and that. So it's like there's a lot of management between what to use and how to use it. But now there's so many different options for people to play, and it opens up this game so much for anyone to play it. You don't need to know Mortal Kombat that well. You can just pick a character, figure out one combo, and just run with it. Uh, and that's what I love most about Mortal Kombat speedrunning in general, because most games are just like use this one combo for arcade. And then of course there's Conquest, which Conquest is absolutely insane now. It had always been sitting at like 2 hours 16 minutes, and it was finally brought down to sub 2 hour. And then with the wall clips, it was brought to almost an hour, I believe, if I remember right. Let me check. Yeah, so with the it was initially brought to 139 by Morshu in the end, and then with world deletion being allowed, it actually D Wednesday brought it down to sub 1 hour. So just in the past, couple years, it goes from being, the record's gone from 3 hours and 47 minutes down to 2 hours and 19 minutes, all with load times. It's like, and then with the like clips and that, it has dropped another 2 hours, and it's like people in this community, they're like, we're quiet, but we're also dedicated, probably just as dedicated as even like the Mario SM64 groups. It's like people underestimate Mortal Kombat, and that's why I love the fact that something that I kind of wish I could have made more of an announcement and could have gotten it like the word out a lot more was Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks finally hit a GDQ. It was games done quick, hot fix once and done. Elfin out, uh, phenomenal guy, got to finally showcase Mortal Kombat speedrunning, and it's one of my favorite things to have seen because of the fact that it's something that we've all worked so hard for. And it brings that like long desired interest into like this niche category. Like I had said, like Mortal Kombat's not a well-known game to speedrun. Like it's something you wouldn't expect to see be ran, but it's ran and is ran phenomenally. But that's not all I did this summer. Surprisingly, I did a lot of it, but I also actually started working. I don't work anymore, sadly, but I started working at McDonald's. Now, everyone talks trash about McDonald's. In reality, we are worked so much harder than just about any other fast food place because it's McDonald's. There's such a higher standard that people don't think like corporate would hold like a franchise to, because the McDonald's has such a huge name that's like, oh yeah, I be punctual with everything, so it's like we're rushing. So this is where like I got so much more respect for everyone who works in fast food industry, especially at a McDonald's, and especially during COVID, because we were short staffed almost every night. There was usually three of us working by in the late night, and when I would leave, there would only be like two, maybe three some nights working, and it was just you just gotta have a respect for that. But that's what led me quitting for the most part, was just that there was so much stress going on with that, and school was starting too, so it was like I didn't want the stress of work, especially at such a stressful job, going into my senior year. It's like you don't want to screw that year up, which had me kind of dreadful for going to my senior year, because I just came off my junior year of almost failing. Uh, I went from failing like 3 out of 5 of my classes, to about half of them, if not more, and barely passed the two of them that I was failing. I didn't even need the credit for the third one, so I just kind of left that one be. But like I was terrified of that, because I knew that if we were forced to go back to online, it would be easily my worst year. But I was also really excited to get in there, because like I hadn't been in the high school for 2 years at that point almost. It was March of 2019, I think, was when COVID shut us down. So it was over a year and a half that I hadn't been in that school. And so it was like, I couldn't wait to get back in there to actually be able to be like face to face with teachers, and to actually be able to be able to communicate to people, because I reason why I'm here, I don't know how to shut up. So it's like, being able to interact with people that I haven't talked to in ages, it was it was so much to be excited about. And I still remember this so vividly. First day, I go into lunch, I go in to get my food. I come out and I'm just walking through the cafeteria, like trying to find someone I knew, so I could sit with them. And of course, my computer wants to give me notifications. I don't know if that was picked up or not, but and I'm about to walk out of the cafeteria to go to. We have like a little section just outside of there for like that was like dedicated for like seniors to go hang out in. They started just being seniors last year, with COVID, but like I was just gonna go find like someone to go hang out with in there. When one of my friends stopped me, and she was like, hey, come, sit with me. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll probably just be with a bunch of band kids, because that's what she was. Uh, she's a band player. So I sit down, and then one of my other friends comes up, who knew one of the other people that were sitting with us at the table, with a girl another girl who I've never met before, and really, I don't know how to describe it because I mean, she's been on the channel before. She was on the channel back in like I think it was October when I did Phasmophobia for the first time, first two videos. She was on there, but we had like immediately hit it off, and I was like, it felt like a movie. Like it was just like the snap of a finger, man. It was insane. But like it was like it felt like we were into a lot of the same things, even if it was like slightly different. Like we were both gamers, but it's like she was more into a solo type of game. I was into more like Overwatch and Valorant, stuff like that. It was like team based FPS games. She was into like Skyrim and Phasmophobia and stuff like that. The more like calmer, slower paced games that were more so not my speed, you know. But we were also into like game manipulation, although mine was breaking game speed running, and hers was modding Skyrim. So it was like we always had like a common ground that was just like different, but we could still interact and be like engaged in talking about it because it was like we're still we still have these connections, and that we connect on so many different things. And homecoming was coming up, and one of my other friends I was talking to, I was like, I really want to ask her out. And eventually, after so much pressuring from her, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. But I didn't do it normal, because normal's for nerds. Like, who wants to be normal with asking someone out? Uh, so we were doing in my broadcasting class because I'm super into doing video stuff. I love editing, even though I'm yet to edit a video for this channel. Uh, but we were for our first story. It was like, okay, so I want to ask her out. So let's take she was new to the school. This was her first year, and she was a senior. So I was like, hey guys, look, it's this new senior. It's like she's just like the sophomores. It's like everyone has a start. So it's like we were going off that angle, and it's like, okay, so we're about to go interview her. We have all of our questions and everything, and I'm like, and I'm bringing it up to my group. I'm like, should I ask her out in the interview? And they're all like they were kind of mixed about it. We like it was hilarious, and so I'm like, okay, let's do it. And it is like I'm sitting there like shaking the entire time I'm doing the interview because I was asking questions and then it's like at the very first second I'm like, "Will you go to homecoming with me?" Like the most confident I've ever been in my life. Immediately met with "I'm sorry," and it's just like they all could just see the like emotion and color just drain from my face as I just nearly face plant to the table. And things just got so insane. It was like, she kind of said yes in the end. She said yes to dinner beforehand at least. So it was like, okay, well at least I have a date before homecoming. I guess like we could hang out with I'll hang out with her friends. Got to make a good first impression with them. I guess gonna meet them sometime. So and like the school year just started at such a high. It was astoundingly perfect up until just after homecoming. Now, I've never had good luck with relationships as it is. I've never been particularly the greatest. But I immediately knew something was wrong because the day after, completely ghosted. Okay, that's a little upsetting, but hey, maybe she's just having, like a day to herself, hanging out with friends. Doesn't want to pick up the phone, to and just be like, hey, and nothing else. Wasn't worried about it. Monday hits, boom, done. No, I don't want to get too far more into the story, because I've already talked about it too much, so much negativity, and I mostly just want to leave it down to I don't even know the full story, the full reason, the full issue with it, because every time I've asked, it's been a completely different answer. Uh, which red flags, I know everyone in the world is probably like, don't stay away. But I'm an idiot. I fell hard. I still fall hard. But to me, it just comes a point in time where even like you can only try so hard until you just have to say that you tried enough. If that makes sense. Like there's always a point in time where it's just like you have to just step away and not really give up, but just kind of be like, well, there's nothing else to try. Like you've tried to enough. You've tried too much. And that's just the point that I'm at. But that kind of brings me to a brighter point of that, like, coming out of it, I felt like I'm still in a darker spot personally, but it's like at the same time I learned the true colors of a person, It's like you can still have a positive impact on someone, but yet also still I don't really know how to say it, honestly. But it's like, sometimes just moving on is the best thing that you have to do. And that's for any kind of relationship, good or bad. Like there's sometimes there's just things that you need to like move away from, quit like burdening yourself with, and kicking a dead horse isn't going to bring that horse back to life. And sometimes it's just that's all you can do. You really just got to just walk away. I mean, other than that, I've been working on tons of stuff with broadcasting, making stories. I've talked about the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. Had a ton of fun doing that. It's a blast to edit. And something else that is really exciting for me on a personal level is my high school is going into the esports world, which is exciting. Uh, it's not 100% official, but we're going to be getting the paperwork coming into 2022. We're going to be joining the winter season coming up, which is super exciting because the games that we're going to be playing are Overwatch and Rocket League, as well as Super Smash Brothers. So it's three games I've played a ton of. Two of them I'm pretty good at. One of them I'm god awful in. That being Smash. So I'm definitely not trying out for that, especially since it's also the most popular. So my hopes are to get on. well, I already know I'm pretty much going to be guaranteed a spot on the Overwatch team, mainly because there's not as many players as something like Rocket League or Overwatch. In fact, Rudd and I are both joining it. We're pretty much going to be the coaches for it, so there is that kind of an excitement to it. But I covered that. I I have so much hope for that team that probably isn't warranted. Because we are yet to play a game together. Any of us who are known to be trying out for the team, so we don't even know how well we're gonna play together. But who knows? But kind of looking, I kind of want to look more into the future now, though, because 2022 is hope. I hope to be a huge year, uh, for me as a whole, whether it be for the channel or whatnot. Because 2022, I graduate. I'll be graduating high school, and my hopes are to actually potentially go into something like collegiate. I don't know how to pronounce it, but like college esports. That's my hope, but again, I no idea what the future may hold for that. But regardless, what I want to more so focus on with like talking with this is about the channel, because I have a lot of hopes for this, even though this video probably gets no views. But one of my, I do have a few resolutions for this channel, and that is being a more of an actual schedule, releasing like maybe a video a day or a video every other day, or like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that. Just so like I'm getting stuff out, and I can actually have like a start constructing a pattern and giving consistency. But I also have a few other ideas for content, and that being a bit of like off the wall kind of like departures from my typical content, being like game stuff. And that stuff like potentially going into like trying to do podcasting, just kind of shoot the breeze with a few friends, or try to find like someone who would be willing to talk, something like a YouTuber or something that like I know, uh something like grabbing Elfin out, talking about the talking about his run on GDQ hotfix. It's like they're the and then I don't know, maybe like Carl Jobs, if he'd be willing, talking about his like journey through speed running, trying to grab like a contenders player from Overwatch and talking to him about like the journey that they've taken to get to contenders and what it takes to get to that level. Like there's so many things that like I hope to do with that. I also have kind of thought about going into following in the footsteps of many a terrible YouTuber and going into the music side of things, but not more so creating my own music, but more so doing like covers, or like not really parodies, but kind of like tweaking songs to kind of fit a not like a different story, but kind of like rewriting a little bit to fit the same story. But hopefully, I can go into something like that and do something just to uh, change it up a bit. And I also do have a couple projects I'm already working on kind of slowly. Uh, that being something of a challenge that I want to go through. I'm actually I kind of want to do something with Fallout. I've been playing through Fallout 3 on my own, and I kind of just want to try something in Fallout 3 because I actually really enjoy Fallout 3. So I'm hoping that like something interesting can come out of that. But other than that, I mean, really, 2021 has been a much better year than 2020, which is not hard because it was 2020. But that really is all I have to say about 2021. Other than uh tomorrow, actually probably the day that this gets uploaded. I don't know if I'm gonna be uploading it today, the 20th, or tomorrow, the 21st. But the 21st is my birthday. It'll be my 18th birthday, so I'm probably gonna be streaming through a lot of the day. Gonna be playing some. I'm probably gonna do some speed running. I'm probably gonna play some Slippy with a few friends. Probably hop on some Valorant. I'm hoping to do my Overwatch competitive placements tomorrow, or the 21st on stream. My first PC placements, and probably something like Phasmophobia. Just to kind of go through my Steam library a bit of what we probably would play. Maybe like SCP Containment Breach multiplayer. Something of just difference from what I would normally play on either YouTube channel or Twitch. So if you are interested in something like that, I would be. Uh, it'll be in the description for if you want to view it. Just come check it out sometime during the day. I'll likely be live for most of it, hopefully. But that is all I have to say. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in 2022. I mean, actually, I will see you still in 2021 because it's still like a week left in it, and I plan on recording more content. But that doesn't matter. It doesn't fit the scenario that I'm trying to put down. So, see you guys.